Good morning, friends. It is early and we have a busy day. The first thing I'm going to do is get Josh and I some coffee and breakfast so that we can be fueled for the day. I am going to run down and do a massive garden harvest today, and we are going to be moving the chickens. So it's a pretty exciting day, and I want to make sure that we are fueled and ready for the day. We have some family members that have a trailer that are going to be able to come and help us move the coop, because we were not exactly sure how we were going to get the coop from the old house up into the new house. So because it is Sunday morning and Josh is going to be working really hard today and not having really a day to relax, I wanted to make sure he had a little bit of a fancier coffee this morning and a nice breakfast in order to kind of feel like today was a special day, and to tell him that I appreciate him for being able to take some time to help move the chicken coop. Now that I'm going to be doing a massive harvest, I want to take care of some of the produce that I already have in my house so that I'm not just bringing in more before I deal with what I already have. These are some tomatoes that I harvested a week ago, and a bunch of them were actually not ripe when I harvested them, and I've been letting them sit on my counter and ripen, and the majority of them are ready to be dealt with. So what I'm going to do is take these ripe tomatoes and just put them in a paper bag. I'm going to remove this stem. I'm not doing anything special with them whatsoever. And these tomatoes are going to be going into the freezer down in the basement. And then when I have a bunch of tomatoes, I'm going to go ahead and we are going to process them. I think I'm going to process these into ketchup, but I'm not exactly sure. We'll figure it out together what we end up doing with these tomatoes. Now these ones here weren't quite ripe. They look pretty dark in the video, but they are still a little bit on the green side. So I'm going to put those on the counter and let those continue to ripen. I have 3 empty baskets. Another reason I wanted to deal with those tomatoes is so that I had some baskets that I could fill up from the garden produce we are going to go get down in the garden together today. I also grabbed out of the deep freezer a freezer meal so that I don't have to think about dinner, because I know today is going to be busy and I don't want to have to worry about dinner tonight. Yesterday I made French toast. I had a loaf of bread that we just never got to, and I have a lot of eggs, so I went ahead and I made the entire loaf into French toast. I froze half of it, and then half of it I have in the fridge so Josh can enjoy French toast for breakfast for today and then also this week. I was going to have French toast, but I decided actually I think I'm going to go ahead and have some yogurt. And the way I like to have my yogurt is I just buy plain yogurt and then I flavor it with whatever jam I feel like flavoring it with. That's one reason, or one way I like to use up my jam. So this is some strawberry jam from Homegrown Strawberries, so I'm pretty proud of that. And then I have some granola on that, and that is our breakfast, and we are going to enjoy that. I went ahead and got showered, and I got my root apron, and we are going to go down to the garden and fill these baskets up. Alrighty, friends, this day has changed a few times. My goal was to do a harvest, and first thing was to move those chickens. That was like the #1 goal this morning. Well, there was a little bit of confusion with the trailer. We're borrowing my brother-in-law's trailer, and that needs to be pushed off until late afternoon, which actually works out perfect for me. So what we're going to do is we've got our baskets and a box. We're going to do a massive harvest. We are going to run to the farmer's market. Today is not as hot, so we're going to run to the farmer's market and get a bunch of produce that I did not grow so we can preserve it. And since I have to go down, harvest, run to the farmer's market, we'll grab some chickens, we'll come up here, and then this afternoon I will go back down to the house and we will do the chicken moving project. Feels good to be back at the garden and to be harvesting. It has been an entire week, a week from today, since we have been in the garden. So I'm pretty excited to see what we find. I think we're going to find some really excellent goodies. The chickens are over there singing away. They probably will be laying eggs while we're here because it's still pretty early in the morning. I've been having my neighbor actually come and check in on them every other day just to make sure they have food and water and that everything's okay, because I'm not here. Normally I would be, out with them on the daily, but that's not been the case. So first things first, let's look at, I don't think these are ready yet. These are our figs, and they are not ripe yet. They probably have a few weeks yet before we'll harvest them, but look at all of them. They're everywhere, which is awesome. I know that our pears are ready, so let's start with that. Unfortunately, I think I waited too long to harvest. Yeah, I can already see the Asian pears. They're actually going bad on the tree, which is pretty unfortunate. But our regular pears are perfect. That's not a bad spot or anything. There's no bug marks on them at all. They're still a little green, but that's great because pears ripen off the vine really well. And that's why I should have gotten to my Asian pears before they went bad. But I just didn't realize that they were ready, and I missed that window. So I can't beat myself up too much about it. It is what it is, and we'll do better next year. Before I get too far into harvesting, I want to get my harvest apron on. I didn't have this last time I was in the garden. It made harvesting a lot harder. This is my apron that has a big pocket on it. The little tabs come up and hook here, so I can put stuff actually in my apron. It's called a roux apron. I can link it down below. I use this last year was the first year I used it, and I love it. So we're gonna get this on, and then we're gonna get to some serious work because I wanna get as much stuff out of this garden, go to the farmer's market, grab some chickens, and head up to the new house before Josh is ready to start moving the chicken coop. So let's get to work. I am trying to harvest these pears with, well, not that much of the stem on it, but with a little bit of stem on it. I, on accident, broke the stem here, and I think these will stay a little bit fresher longer if they have the stem on it. I don't know for sure, but that's what makes sense in my head, so that's what I'm gonna do. Here's a ripe one on the tree. It does have a bug bite. You can see that once they get pretty ripe, that's when the bugs get into them. But we're gonna taste over here and see what this pear tastes like. Pears are one of my favorite fruits. It's perfect. I found an Asian pear that looks really good, so I'm going to go through the Asian pear tree and see what we can find that isn't too overripe. I think I saw a couple more in here. See, right there is a bug spot, but I can probably cut that away and the rest of it will be good. This one's really good. Unfortunately, we only got a few Asian pears, enough for Josh to enjoy. His favorite are Asian pears, so it's kind of disappointing that we didn't get more of them. But there are a ton of beautiful apples on this tree. Last time we tasted one of these apples, they were not ripe, and this is perfect. Okay, let's get to picking. We're gonna put our apples in this box. I'm gonna put these pears with the pears. So there is a bad spot on this one, but we'll just cut that away. I think we got all the fruit off this tree. We got a pretty big box here. And then I went over to this tree. This is another apple tree that is close to my raspberry patch. That's the raspberries there. Tree, the plum tree that died last year, and the garden. And I just looked through the entire tree and we got 2 apples. 2 apples. But these are perfect apples. A lot of the apples on the tree we just harvested have little marks on them, so that means they need to be processed right away. These I can stick into the fridge and we can eat these fresh, no problem at all. And same thing with this tree. There are a lot of apples on this tree, but a lot of them do have damage on them, so they're going to need to be processed right away. This one actually doesn't look too bad. And nope, see, that is a bug spot on them. So 99% of the apple is totally fine, but we are going to have to make them into something. These trees are 100% organic. I didn't spray them with anything, not even any organic bug spray or anything. I quite honestly don't know anything really about fruit trees. Moving forward, when I am going to be planting my new orchard, I'm going to take time to learn and prune those trees properly and really care for those trees. These trees have never been fully pruned properly. They've been pruned. I've pruned them. I've had an arborist come out and prune them last year, but they have not been cared for, I don't think, as properly as I plan to care for the trees moving forward. Learning what to put on them, what to feed them, water them, and all those things. These trees just get to fend for themselves. So whatever they produce, if they produce anything at all, is awesome, because no input was put in by me for this harvest at all. They've just been out here doing their thing. They are beautiful organic apples, but that means they come with some damage that we're gonna have to cut around, and that's fine. One thing I'm going to start doing, or I'm going to try, I don't know if you guys have any experience, is substituting applesauce for oil, because I already have a lot of applesauce still from last year, and I'm going to make some more this year. But I can get applesauce, but I don't have a way to make my own oil. So I think that would be kind of a fun experiment to kind of play around with that. But I am also going to turn a lot of these into crisp filling for this winter and fall, and pie filling for this winter and fall. If any of the apples look like they're a little bit too far gone, I'm just not going to bring them home and deal with them. But a lot of them look really, really good. There is our apple and pear harvest for the year. It is not as abundant as it was last year. That's okay, because I still have stuff canned and preserved for last year. So I might actually turn all of that into pies and crisps and then not make any applesauce. We'll just have to see when it comes to it. One of the things that I made last year that was incredible, and I didn't bring you guys along, was I made infused vodka. I made pear infused vodka. It was probably the best thing I have ever made, and so I kind of want to do that again this year. We'll just see how it goes. We could even maybe try like apple cinnamon infused rum or bourbon or something. I don't know. If you guys have any ideas, leave them down in the description box because that sounds so good. It has to sit for at least 2 months, so we would be able to enjoy it this Christmas. Baby comes early December, so if we started that now, we could be making a few cocktails maybe for the holidays or even gifts for people for the holidays. I don't know. I love that idea. Now let's get to our tomatillos and tomatoes. I can see that the bees are dancing around here. You see that little bumblebee? Now the thing is, this area, I've mentioned it before, is not being watered basically at all. I come here once a week, maybe, and I water it once a week. So anything that comes off this, I'm considering a win because it's kind of fend for yourself tomatillos and tomatoes. Believe it or not, I can see some down here. They might be bad because they've been, yeah, something that's gross ate that, but some of them might be good. That one's good. They're small, and I think they're small because they have not been watered. If I have time today to go to the farmer's market, I am going to pick up some tomatillos because I want to make sure I make enough salsa verde for Josh for an entire year. Last year I only grew 2 tomatillo plants, and I had enough tomatillos to get us through a year. And this year I have 6, but I think because of the watering, I'm not getting the yield. So at home, I probably have the equivalent of 3 of this quantity. So enough to make a few jars, but not enough to make a year's worth. I'm going to pick any tomato that is blushing. Uh-oh, we dropped a couple green ones. I want to get to this first, or toward the beginning of the harvest, so that I can get in here and water these guys. Well, this is too bad. I just was looking at my squash, my winter squash, and this guy is toast. There was probably 25 squash bugs on it. It's soft. There's a big hole in it. So this winter squash is going to the chickens. Oh well. The winter squash in this area also has not been watered except once a week. It's not been tended to, it's not been weeded, it's a disaster, and it is what it is. There's a couple more in here. Let's take a look. These plants are actually dying, so I think we need to get in here and harvest whatever we can. So one way to tell if your winter squash is ready is you put your thumbnail on it, and if it doesn't leave a mark, it's good. And you want to see the tendril dying, which it's starting to right here. So I don't know if I should harvest this one yet or not. We also have this in here. Let's see. We've got a butternut squash. Oh, my fingernail's not leaving a mark. Look at that. All right, we got our first winter squash harvest. I should be harvesting the tomatoes, but we've moved on to winter squash, I guess. Yep, I'm gonna get this one too. Oh shoot. I should have, darn it. You wanna leave a good inch or two of stem on here because that's gonna go bad quicker. So I'm gonna put this in my kitchen sink, or kitchen. We're gonna let it finish curing so I can watch it, and then we're gonna have to cook with this right away. That was kind of a bummer. All right, we've got one more here. I'm gonna make sure I leave enough stem. I should have clippers, but I don't have clippers here at this house. All right. There we go. Oh no. I think it's okay. Awesome. Okay, so third squash. I can see this plant is starting to grow another one. There is no way that is going to produce anything by the time we have our first frost. We have one more over here. This one's pretty little. I'm going to leave this and we're going to let this one do its thing. And then we have one more in here. And we need to decide. You know what? I think I'm going to call this one too. Look at that. This is an example right here why I wanted to pick everything that is blushing, because I'm not in the garden every day. I miss things. I picked every single thing that was blushing exactly a week ago. So unless I miss this, it's ripened and it's split. No big deal. I'll give it to the chickens. But that is a prime example of why I'm picking things like this that aren't totally ripe yet. So I'm going to go give that to the chickens. But first, I'm going to, we're dropping them. So I had to go put gloves on because the tomato vines are starting to really irritate my skin. That's one reason why I'm wearing long sleeves today, because it's starting to make my skin really itchy. We have one full basket from these tomatoes. Now what we need to do is go harvest these tomatoes over here, and I need to decide if we're going to harvest that pumpkin, but I'm going to go throw this to the girls first. Hey, sweethearts. I think I'm going to wait on this one because the tendril right here is still alive. So I want this to dry out a little bit more, but I might move it off the soil. I would be pretty sad if it started to rot from the bottom. So I think I want to get this on the wood chips. Put that there. We'll just prop it up right against the raised bed. No pressure point on it. And I think that'll be better than having it rest on the soil where it's damp, just to prevent any like mold issues or anything. And we'll give it another week or so. But now I need to get in here. There are a ton of tomatoes that can be picked. Just tons of them. I have had such amazing luck with Roma tomatoes over the last 2 years. They are just plain Roma tomatoes. They are so productive. And I can link where I buy the majority of my seeds from down in the description box if you are interested. All the tomatoes this year that we're harvesting from the garden, except for 4 plants, and all the peppers we harvest from this garden this year were all started from seed, and that is a huge accomplishment.
There's a lot more where that came from. This is just the beginning of this harvest from this raised bed.
I have about 10 Roma tomato plants in this raised bed, and half of them I started from seeds that I had purchased from Seeds from Generations, and half of them were seeds that I started from M.I. Gardner, and I honestly can't tell a difference between the 2 plants. So I think that both of those seed companies did a fantastic job curating some really, really good Roma tomato seeds. I'm totally happy supporting both those companies. They're both family-owned companies, and I'm just thrilled with the harvest so far this year.
Uh-oh. Shoot. Well, we officially ran out of basket space, and I still have this whole section to pick. So I'm going to have to figure something else out. And we still have all the, not all, but quite a few peppers I want to harvest, zucchini, and some green beans. Now I wanted to show you this. These potatoes look like they are ready. They're dying back. This is the old chicken run. But we'll come in here a different day. I don't quite have the time to do this today. While I try to figure out a solution for the tomatoes and peppers, I'm going to grab these squash. This one is huge. We'll get this one. That's how I like to harvest it, with some stem left. We're going to get this one. We'll eat this one for dinner this week. I missed the stem, but that's okay. We'll eat it quickly. And then I'm going to grab these 2. We'll also be eating these for dinner this week. I really should have some scissors out here. And let's see if this zucchini plant produced anything for us. This is disgusting. I've never, ever, ever once dealt with squash bugs, and that's what these are. I believe. I could be wrong, actually. So gross. No zucchinis on our zucchini plant. This plant has not done well. I'm not sure. Well, you tell me, are those squash bugs? And it's pretty late in the season. I don't know if there's anything I should be doing about them right now, because that plant already, I've kind of given up on that plant. So if you guys have any recommendations for squash bugs, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's put this squash in here. I am eventually going to harvest all of these sunflower heads, but not today. I did grab one of them because I on accident broke the stem, and there's some sunflower seeds in here. So we're going to get this one. The rest of them I want to dry out a little bit more before we harvest. We haven't had rain in probably, I don't know, 2.5, 3 months, and we don't have any plans for rain anytime soon, so I'm not worried about having these dry out on the plant. But because I broke this one, the stem right at the ground, this was going to sit on the ground, and I was worried that maybe animals would get to the seed, and I don't want animals to get to the seeds. So now I still have more tomatoes, but I want to go ahead and harvest the peppers because I need to figure out a solution on how to transport all those tomatoes because I don't have anything for them to put them in. This is a container that had some soil in it that dried out. I dumped it out. We are going to use this for our hot peppers. I'm so excited. I'm starting to see some red in here. I'm trying to only harvest the red one, so I'm going to let this one sit on here a little bit longer. because I want to make some red hot sauce. We've already been using that tomatillo jalapeno hot sauce, and Josh loves it because it's not too spicy, which is awesome. I don't even know what kind of peppers these are. There's still so many peppers on here, but we're going to let those ripen. I am going to go ahead and get all of our poblanos. Some of these jalapenos are ready to be picked, but some of them are just babies, so we'll leave the babies on there to get a little bit bigger. I had a bunch of you tell me that these Sugar Rush Peach peppers are notorious for taking forever to ripen. We're starting to see some good peach color come on them, but I'm going to wait until the very last minute to harvest these peppers. I'm going to taste one though first. I hope these are hot because I love really, really, really spicy food. They're not hot at all. But, wait. They are hot. They are hot. But they definitely have a sweet, like when you first taste it, it's very, very sweet. But then I was biting the seeds and that's hot. That is good. That is so good. These were a gift in my P.O. box, these seeds. Love them. Love them. I am going to start all my peppers earlier in the year, this next year, just so they have a head start. I dropped one of my jalapenos. I don't know where it went. Because my peppers could definitely use a little bit more of a jump start into the season. But my tomatoes, I started a little too early. So I'm not going to start my tomatoes and peppers at the same time next year. I'm going to start my peppers probably 3 weeks before I start my tomatoes. I can still feel the burn from that Sugar Rush Peach pepper, but it was delicious. Oop. Some of these jalapenos are starting to turn color, which is fine. My Chinese 5-color plant, if you've been following along with this, we have quite a few red peppers on here now. So these peppers start out this really beautiful purple color, and then they turn beige, then they turn yellow, and then they turn red. And I was kind of waiting for them to turn red, but this plant here has some red ones. I'm going to make hot sauce with all these red peppers, and I think we'll get a more complex hot sauce flavor with having a ton of different varieties of peppers. I think I've harvested all the peppers I'm going to. I need to harvest, oh wait, I'll grab these ones. But I have all this basil. I don't think I want to harvest this right now because it's going to be warm in the car and I don't want it to wilt on me. So after we get the chicken coop loaded up and we're heading up to the house for the final time, I'll come back and harvest this. And can I just show you something that I spotted out of the corner of my eye that I've tried growing 3 years in a row, and I finally see fruit forming on it. This silly little plant is a Tabasco pepper plant. And I did not realize, and now I know, I've heard a couple people talk about this plant, that it takes a notorious long time to mature. This one I might actually dig up, put in a pot, and try to keep alive over the winter, and then plant it out in this, like, after frost. And then I will start my Tabasco pepper plants probably in late January and baby them indoors for a long time, because my dream for 3 summers now has been to make homemade Tabasco sauce. And it's just not happened. And you can't buy Tabasco peppers in my area at the farmer's market that I've seen. So I just think that's funny. I think this is a Tabasco pepper plant too right here. I could be wrong, but I know for sure this one is, because this is how they grow. The peppers grow pointing straight up like that. I see a couple more red peppers back there. We're gonna get right in here. We've got a couple red ones. Not bad pepper harvest. This whole basket or flower pot is basically full, so I'm happy about that. Oh my goodness, this is the lemon basil and it smells so good. Now I have a lot more peppers in these beds, but I'm gonna let them continue to ripen until the very last minute, and then we'll come in here and harvest a bunch of them. Now what I need to do is finish getting those tomatoes, but I do have a few green beans. Right here, I planted a second harvest of green beans, and I see some that are ripe in here, so we should get these. Over here, we planted a third planting of green beans after we harvested the garlic. And I'm not sure if they're ready to be harvested yet. Last time we were out here, there were a lot of blossoms, and it looks like still there's a lot of blossoms, but not really mature enough fruit yet to harvest. You can see there's 3 right there, plus 3 more flowers, and we'll harvest those in about a week or so. Yeah, I don't think it's worth picking anything in here yet. I'll snack on one though, because that'll be tender and yummy. I have definitely not grown a year's worth of green beans yet, so I'm hoping that these little babies are going to be just what we need in order to have a year's worth of green beans. I think I could put tomatoes in this too, so I think I'm going to go back to the tomato bed and get tomatoes. I needed to give my skin a break because the tomato plants really do kind of irritate my skin. I have pretty sensitive skin, and it's just something on the plant that kind of, oh my goodness. This is interesting. This bed was our potato bed, and we had borage planted right here and nasturtiums, and they went to seed. These are baby borage plants, and this is a baby nasturtium plant. They probably won't flower before the first frost, but I always find that super fascinating when plants self-seed themselves. Oh my goodness. Look at what I just found. The world's smallest melon. I planted some melon plants in here and I thought they weren't going to do anything, but apparently they did something. See, this one's ripe, but some animal ate a huge chunk out of it. Darn it. Chickens will enjoy it. Nothing goes to waste in the garden. Nothing goes to waste. These plants are falling over, but that's okay. That's okay. Do any of you all watch the Veggie Boys on YouTube? Because what do they say? What's worse than picking tomatoes once is picking them twice when you drop them on the ground. Well, I get to pick them twice, and I guess I'm glad. It's better to pick them twice than not have the opportunity to pick them at all. Meaning you never got a harvest. We're gonna have to put some tomatoes in here, I think. Maybe not. Maybe we can get them all to fit in these containers. Here is our stunning harvest. I'm thrilled with it. We have an entire flower pot full of hot peppers and 2 sweet bell peppers. We've got a box almost full of apples that we need to deal with ASAP. 1 yellow squash, another flower pot full of tomatoes. We have a beautiful basket full of 2 Asian pears and a bunch of Bartlett pears. The Bartlett pears are stunning. 2 apples, 1 sunflower head, and our beautiful butternut squash. We have 2 full baskets full of tomatoes and a lot more where that came from. And then we also have our 2 squash. I can't remember if these are Blue Hubbard or Sweet Meat. I have to look it up. I originally did not harvest that first squash that we looked at. Well, the first one we looked at is bad. That's going to go to the chickens. Then the second one I wasn't sure. I did go ahead and harvest it. And yeah, I harvested it. So we're going to let that cure at the house and kind of start decorating the house for fall with our homegrown produce. I'm going to go run to the farmer's market, if you can believe it, to go get tomatillos. And I'm going to leave all this right here. I don't want this in the back of the truck in the city while I go pick up those tomatillos. It won't take me very long to go do that. I want to do it today because today's Sunday and it's not going to be open until next week. And this week I want to do a bunch of food preservation. So when Josh gets down here, because he's going to be down here around 1 or 2 o'clock to start moving the chickens, then I'm going to ask him to load up. Well, actually, no, that's not going to work. Maybe I won't load up the apple box because that one's heavy, but the rest of them aren't heavy. I will go to the farmer's market, come back. I'm going to get 4 chickens, take them and the produce up to the house, and then we'll be back down, I think, to move the chicken coop. And that is going to be an adventure. We're going to figure out if we can actually do it or not together. We probably have 1 or 2 more large harvests before the end of the year, and that's going to be pretty exciting. The rest of it can wait for another week. I can probably come back in a week and grab those more tomatoes, peppers, and then we'll probably grab the potatoes too. And we got to see how many potatoes we have in that one area. Plus we still have hopefully some black beans to harvest, and we have potatoes in this bed as well. So I'm going to go get those tomatillos and then we'll be back to do the chicken coop.